Good morning. Today we are working on CO6. I can add and subtract decimals. So yesterday's objective, we were putting them in order from least to greatest, working with those decimals. We're continuing that work with decimals. What important thing did we need to remember about stacking decimals? Emma? Lining up the decimal place. Guess what? That's important when we're adding and subtracting with decimals. We line up the decimal place. So we make sure that the tenths are subtracting the tenths. Okay, the hundredths are adding to the hundredths. We have to make sure that we're lining up those place values so we're adding and subtracting in the correct place. So adding and subtracting decimals is very similar to adding and subtracting multi-digit numbers that you've been doing for years. The numbers are lined up vertically by their place value and the columns are added or subtracted. You may or may not need to carry addition or borrow in subtraction. Be sure to line up your decimal points. With addition and subtraction, the decimal drops straight down into your answer. We're going to check your answer by first making sure it's reasonable. A calculator can also be used as a checkpoint, not to do the math in the first place. Once you are done, you can use the calculator to double check, did I do it correctly? The first thing we do is make sure it's a reasonable answer. This is going to be something I talk about all year in math. Does your answer make sense? So if I'm looking at, just in my ones place, oh goodness, is it really not going to work for me now? Okay, so much fun with this. Let's do it this way. I love when technology changes on me. We're going to go to this. And I will just do this over here. We're just being flexible today. All right. I am going to look at my ones place. I have 7 plus 3. Can we do that as mental math? What would 7 plus 3 be? James? 10. So my answer is going to be close to 10. Okay, it's not going to be 100. Okay, I'll know that I'm lining my numbers up correctly if my answer is relatively close. The decimals are going to throw it off a little bit. It's not going to be quite the same number, but it's going to be close, and it's going to tell me, oh, if I'm in the hundreds and my answer should be 10, if I'm at 70 something and my answer should be 10 something, I'm way off. I didn't line up correctly. So when we say, is it a reasonable number, would 7 point something plus 3 point something be 73 point something? No. So that's checking to see if it is reasonable. So when we add, we make sure those decimals are lined up. We always start on the right side and work our way to the left. A lot of times I say we read left to right, so we're going from left to right. But when we're adding and subtracting, we start in that farthest place to the right, that smallest place value, and we work our way left to the largest place value. So we have 2 plus 1 is 3. 9 plus 1 is 10. Do I put 10 down here?
No.
What do I have to do, Nolan P? I'm going to carry that 1. And I'm going to carry it over to here. So now I have 1 plus 7 plus 3. Well, we already talked about that 7 plus 3 is 10. Plus 1 is 11. I don't have anywhere to carry it to, so I just bring that down. My last step is to bring down that decimal point straight down. So I get 11.03. Now over the subtracting, let's look at subtracting. I have an empty space. Can I do nothing minus 1? would my answer be 1? Nothing minus 1. Is the answer 1, Kylie? What do I have to do? I have to fill a 0 into that empty place. Can I do 0 minus 1? No, what do I have to do? Liam, I have to borrow from the next place over. So I'm going to change that 3 to a 2, and I'm going to change that 0 to a 10. 10 minus 1 is 9. 2 minus 8. I can't take 8 away from 2. If I only have 2, there's not enough, so I need to borrow again. That 6 becomes a 5. My 2 becomes a 12. So now I say 12 minus 8 is 4. 5 minus 3 is 2. I can't do 0 minus 4, so I'm going to borrow. I'm going to change that 0 to a 10. 10 minus 4 is 6. 1 minus 1 is 0. So I don't have to put anything there. I'm going to bring that decimal straight down. And I get 6.249. How are we feeling about adding and subtracting decimals? Show me your thumbs. Okay, some of us are like, yep, I'm remembering this. Some of us are like, I need a little practice. So we're going to practice on this page, making sure that we feel comfortable with it. This next one I actually wrote out so we would remember to line up our decimals. So I start with my top one, 124.5. And then when I bring that 60.44 under it, I make sure my decimals are lined up, 60 to the left, 44 to the right. What do I have to do with my empty space, Adeline? Add a 0. And then we're going to do the same math. Same thing over here. Make sure that when you rewrite it, and you do need to rewrite it, make sure you line up those decimal points. Now, underneath that, it says, surely at some point in your life you have purchased something and needed change. How many of us have bought something at the store using cash? Yeah. You give money, and a lot of times you don't have exact change. If it costs $2.75 and you give them a $5 bill, you need to know how much money they should be giving you back. You don't want to get ripped off of any change, right? You want to make sure that you get the correct amount of change. Our dollars and cents, those cents are as decimal points. So we're going to look at the price of the product, how much money you give them, and we're going to find out how much change you should get. So if we look at this first one, what do you think my top number is going to be? Kylie? 10, because I'm giving $10 to the cashier. The cashier is going to take away the price of what I'm buying. So they're subtracting out the price of what I'm buying, and then your answer is how much change you should receive. So if I'm giving them $10, what do you think I need to do to my 10 right from the get-go? Emma? I'm going to make a decimal. When we work with cents, there always only goes to that 100th place. So I'm going to put 2 zeros in, the 10th place and the 100th place, because those zeros always go out, or the place values always go out to the hundredths for cents. Now I'm going to line up that decimal point. I've got a 7 to the left and a 50 to the right. I am getting change back from my $10, so I'm subtracting. So when you're giving money, they're taking away the price, so they are subtracting, and we're finding out how much change we will receive. It does say to show your work, so you do need to rewrite the problem, do the math. There might be a lot of borrowing that needs to happen if we have lots of zeros. So this first one, 0 minus 0, I can just bring that 0 straight down. But 0 minus 5 I can't do. So I'm going to borrow over here. Uh-oh, it's another 0. So I need to borrow from that. So I need to borrow from the 10 and turn it into a 9 to turn that into a 10. So you might have to borrow multiple times to solve your problem. So 10 minus 5 is 5. 9 minus 7 is 2. I bring that decimal point down. Do not forget your label. Your answer is not 2.5. Your answer is $2.50. So make sure you put that dollar sign in front of your money, so we know we're working with dollars and cents. You're going to do the same thing with those 3. On the bottom here it says sometimes it's easier to count up when figuring change. For example, you buy something that is $12.30 and pay with $20. It takes 70 cents to get to the $13 and $7 to get to $20. So your change will be $7.70. Practice this method on each situation below, or use the standard method explained above. So what they're saying, let me see if I can make this bigger. Oops, wrong way. Oh my goodness. All right. If I have a price of $3.25 and I'm giving $5, well, 3.25, I know it's going to take 75 cents to get me up to that first full $4. And then I know to go from $4 to $5, it's going to take another dollar to equal $5. So that's $1.75. So instead of having to do all that subtracting that I did up top, I can add up instead of subtracting down. Some of us, our brains go, ooh, that really works for me. I can add up easy. I get that. Some of us go, oh, Ms. Gambino, why are you confusing me? Why are you giving me a different method? I like the subtraction. I know how to do that. Figure out which one works for you. The directions say use one or the other. So you decide, does it work with me to add up, or should I subtract down? Use the one that works for you, because I care that we're getting the correct answer. You can use either way. James.
So we have to show our work?
Yes, you always have to show work. If you're doing mental math, write it out. What math did you just do in your head?
75 plus 25
Okay.
plus 100.
So write it out. Whatever math you're doing in your head for mental math, show the work on the paper so I know how you got your answer. Because we want to make sure we're getting the correct answer. Sometimes when we do our math, we do some step wrong, and if we don't show our work, we have a hard time figuring out where we went wrong. So show your work, so just in case we can find the mistake. Okay, because tomorrow or Monday when we correct this, you're not going to remember the mental math that you did. Any other questions on today's assignment? So important thing to remember, what's the first thing we do when we add and subtract decimals? Bridget? Line up your decimals. First step, always, always, always line up the decimals. If you are watching this at home, I hope you are well, and I hope to see you soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a wonderful day.